everyone, welcome back. This is another in my series of glaze greatest glaze hits videos. This time I'm going to be talking about amethyst from Coyote Glazes. Amethyst is interesting, so you'll notice if you've watched some of my other videos like this, you'll notice there are a lot less pots in front of me. That is because this glaze is by quite a bit the most expensive one I've got in my studio. So I am very careful about how I use it, because if I use it on a pot that doesn't turn out, it's an expensive mistake to make. Now you might be wondering, well, if you're worried about using it and it's so expensive, why do you even have it? Why not use something less expensive? And the simple answer is that I have not found anything quite like this glaze. I am a sucker for a good purple. I love purple. And this glaze, like, it's got the light purples and it's got these kind of pinky tones that happen, and it's just gorgeous. And so I am happy to keep it in the studio. But like I say, I am very careful about how I use it. And I try to make sure I use it on things that are going to turn out. The other thing you're not seeing in front of me is a red clay example. I have put amethyst on red clays. It looks pretty much exactly the same, at least in my experience. Those pots are off to the Oromocto Galleria. They may be sold already, I don't know. But I don't have them here in front of me. So I will get a picture of those and I will overlay it onto this video so that you can see what amethyst looks like on a red clay. As with the other greatest hits videos, I'm skipping right to the end with this one. So we're not doing the glaze along where I, glaze all the test tiles and do the layering and we fire them and see how they turn out, because I've used this glaze for a while. So I've got some experience with it. And that way, you get to skip right to the good stuff. Don't worry though, we are going to get back to our regularly scheduled glaze tests. I still love doing those. But if you're a relatively new potter or you're an experienced potter just looking to try out a new glaze, I think it's really helpful to hear from somebody who's used it quite often, because as wonderful as the glaze tests are, sometimes you find as you're using a glaze that something pops up that you weren't expecting, or just in a new situation, you fire it a little hotter and everything changes, what have you. So these reviews are really helpful, I think, to give you a good understanding of how a glaze behaves over time. Amethyst I have had for a while. It was one of the first glazes that I bought, actually. I think I bought it at the same time I bought Mulberry Celadon. So I've been using it for a while, but again, not as much. I am still using the pint versions of these. Let's see, do I have one here? Amethyst. I'm still using the pint version of these just because it is so expensive. So I have done the calculations and the dipping version is quite a bit less expensive. So I will probably invest in that the next time that I buy this glaze. The nice thing about Coyote is that they formulate their glazes to be kind of middle of the road. So you can brush it, you can dip it, you can pour it, and it's probably going to turn out okay no matter what way you do it. With a caveat, I'm going to get to that in a minute. The thing I don't love about Coyote glazes, well, I shouldn't say that. This is the only Coyote glaze that I have tried. And the thing that I don't love about it is that it hard pans. These suckers are like concrete on the bottom when you open them. It is a problem. Not going to lie. It takes some effort to crack up the minerals that settle to the bottom of these. I have read online that Coyote are aware of the issue and they are trying to fix it. So maybe the next time I buy this, it'll be okay. This is dinnerware safe, which is good to know. Dinnerware safe is not a legal definition. Every manufacturer kind of comes up with its own idea of what dinnerware safe means. There's food safe, which is a legal definition. The FDA has rules around what that means. But dinnerware safe is defined by every manufacturer themselves. But in general, it means that the clay manufacturer feels that this is going to be a good fit if you're making bowls or plates, that kind of thing that's going to come into contact with food and with cutlery. Although Mako say that their dinnerware safe doesn't have anything to do with cutlery marks. So I guess just double check before you buy it if you're worried about it. I have a bowl in my kitchen with amethyst on it. I've been using it for probably a year, quite a bit. Used it for soup, for salad, all sorts of stuff, and it looks just like the day I made it. So I feel pretty confident with this one. This glaze is both really varied and really consistent, which is kind of an unusual combo. You can see here, these are examples. These two have just amethyst on them. And these three have amethyst and pearl white and mulberry celadon from Amico at the bottom. Even though they're layered, are we on different clays or are these all light clays? Let's have a peek. Okay, these are all light clays, but like I say, I have done it on red clays and it comes out the same. So they all look the same, and yet within each piece, there's a ton of variations. So yeah, it's this one. This ramen bowl is a refire. So when I fired it at first, the way that I glazed this one, I poured into the interior of it and then brushed the exterior, which seemed like a good idea at the time, but I found that there was way too much glaze on the interior. So I'm not sure that I would pour amethyst again for the interior of a bowl. It tends to get too much at the bottom. I learned a lesson for this one and I brushed it on this one, and you can see the difference in the center of these two pots. This one here, it has, I mean, it's very pretty, has this kind of pinkish color to it, but it's also a little orange peely. And this is a refire, so I had to refire this one to get it to turn out. It was really rough on the bottom the first time around, and there were some spots. Okay, I can't even tell anymore, but there was a spot up here somewhere where it had crawled a little bit, or wasn't really crawling, but there was just a patch where it was super thin. So I just put some glaze on it, like literally just took my finger and put a little bit of glaze on it to help it kind of heal over. And on the bottom here, I had only done 2 coats around the bottom, and I didn't quite like the way it looked. You do need 3 coats of amethyst to get this effect. You can kind of see down here how it turns out if you just have 2 coats. So I put more glaze on here, popped it in, did a refire, and it's beautiful. But the lesson I learned from this is to not pour on the interior. It just gets too much glaze down at the bottom. Although these results are very consistent, within each piece there's a lot of variations. You can see the bands of the lighter pink, and then there's kind of some bluey purple here. Lots of variation. There's a secret to getting this, and I'll get to that in a minute. But within each piece, it's just really interesting. There's a lot going on with this glaze. There's a lot to look at. There's a lot of kind of visual interest, even with just the one glaze. So a little bit like Laguna's Power Turquoise, but even more variation because you're really getting different colors here. The trick to getting this variation is to apply poorly. Not really, but kind of. The trick is to not be too even in your application. So when I brush this on, I will do 3 coats, 3 solid coats all the way down to the bottom, now that I know that I can. After I do the 3 coats, I'll go in with the fan brush or whatever brush I'm using. I usually use a fan brush, and just like do some little splotchy bits, some little wiggles, whatever, and just put some clumps on there to add some areas where it's thicker and thinner. I don't think I've tried this glaze on texture yet, so I should give that a try. It would be interesting to see how it did on texture. So if I get to that before I post this video, I will insert that here. And if not, then we have a future video. So that's the secret to getting the best out of amethyst. 3 solid coats and then some extra globby bits. And don't worry when you're putting the coats on, you know how I'll talk about with a Celadon that you need a nice even coverage and brush strokes one way and then the other way. Forget all of that for this glaze. It does not matter. Do a terrible job. This particular combo is the one that I have really settled on. The first time I did it, I just absolutely loved it. And so I use it a lot now for mugs and cups in particular. And this one is Amico's Mulberry Celadon down at the bottom. And then I do 3 coats of the amethyst at the top. And I don't really overlap them a whole lot, except, no, I don't think I did dip this one. So some of these I had converted my brushing version of the Mulberry Celadon. I don't have the dipping version yet. Basically, I just added water to it and tried dunking the pots in, and it worked fine. But I was wondering if I did it all over, but I don't think I did. Anyway, if I did, it doesn't really make much of a difference. So there you go. Mulberry Celadon on the bottom, and then amethyst on the top, and I didn't overlap them a little bit, but not much. And then I went in with Spectrum's Pearl White and did along that band where they connect. I'll show you here. This one's in progress. It doesn't have the Pearl White yet, but I will put Pearl White along this line here where the 2 glazes meet, and I will put Pearl White along the top as well. The reason I put it along the top is that I always use a different glaze inside. Again, just the amethyst is such an expensive glaze that I want to make it go as far as it can. And often that is snow, Celadon. And as we all know, these Amico Celadons are super stable. If you haven't watched my review on wasabi yet, go check it out. You'll learn all about it. So the amethyst it doesn't run much, so it kind of looks weird. And in this case, it actually cracked because I waited too long after doing the snow underneath before I put the amethyst on top. But if I had put Pearl White on here, it probably would have solved all the problems because Pearl White just runs and flows and mixes everything together. This one I put Pearl White around here, but not around here. So after that experience, I started putting a band of Pearl White around the top as well. And here I've got the Mulberry Celadon inside, and you can see that it's just kind of helped it to merge together in a prettier way than this. So this is one of my go-to combinations. I don't really name my combinations, but I always think of this as the iris. It just reminds me of the flower. One of my favorite flowers, actually. I have gotten pinholing with amethyst from time to time. Coyote say on their website that the fantasy glazes, this is one of their fantasy glazes, they say that, you know, they're really temperamental and they'll change based on the temperature they're fired to and the clay that they're on. Interestingly enough, I haven't really found that the case here. It looks fairly consistent all the time. Some of these were fired at like a 7.5. Some of them were fired at a 5.5. I have a new kiln that I've been kind of working the kinks out and trying to figure out exactly what firing schedule is going to work best. They all look great. So I have to disagree with Coyote on this one. So this is my favorite, most expensive glaze. I, like I say, have not done a ton of different layering with this. I've got the Snow Celadon, the Mulberry Celadon, and the Pearl White, and that is about it for what I've tried so far. So if you have layered amethyst with something else, I would love to hear about that. If you have questions about amethyst that I haven't answered in this video, feel free to pop them down in the comments. I do read the comments. I try to respond to everything. So if I have the answer, I will share it with you. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much. I appreciate you spending your time with me, and I hope that I have given you some useful information that you can take into your studio practice and use for your pots that you're creating in your own way. Thanks for watching.